Obviously, now the shooter, Robert Card, is now confirmed dead. Good news for the people of Maine, and, obviously maybe closure. I don't know how you ever recover as a family member that lost a loved one. Between that and our other top story out of Israel and the ground incursion having begun, and a lot of questions about how far this is going to spread out. Will it be a two-front war? Will it be bigger than that? What are your thoughts, and how prepared do you feel Israel is on that front?
Well, Sean, let me just real quick, I want to touch on some of Nicole's statements. She's right. The defund the police movement has really hurt law enforcement. When you're in law enforcement, I've been a reservist for 15 years as an unpaid volunteer. It's one of my favorite jobs still to this day, training cops in active shooter response and high-risk entry. And it's a really tough job. And she's right. These officers are training to go into the worst-case scenario. And events like this, they're hard to get out of your memory. It's its own type of war. So, again, hats off to Chief Dave St. Pierre. Hats off to the colonel in charge of the Maine State Police and all the agencies involved here. This thing was put down quietly. I'm glad he was found dead. But that's enough with this nonsense against law enforcement. These are good men and women. They really are. And there's always a couple of bad apples in every big organization, Sean. But, we're seeing here what these men and women do. They don't get paid a ton of money. But at the end of the day, they're running in the direction of that threat. And sometimes they're on their own, one or two people. We don't have time to wait for SWAT teams. We see how quickly these events unfold. You got to go into that gunfire. And it's very stressful. It's a monster chemical dump. It induces tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, tunnel vision. You got to shoot straight. You got to shoot into crowds. It's a monster task, and it's time for this nonsense to stop, and it's time to re-embrace law enforcement. So I'm with Nicole. And my hearts and prayers to the victims and the families. Taking it to Israel. I want to say this. It's about time that the teeth start to come out towards Iran's proxies. And my contention at this point right now regarding Gaza and the incursion, or the upcoming incursion that I keep hearing about here. This incursion started, Sean, over 2 weeks ago. We're fighting a counterterrorism-centric war here. That means special operations. Israel's in no rush to put 300,000 troops into Gaza. But what is happening right now is the Israeli generals, who are smart, are attacking and destroying systematically the leadership of Hamas inside of Gaza, in my opinion, in order to disrupt the control and communications of the bottom low-lying terrorists in those tunnels. When they can't communicate, they're going to get frazzled. They're going to be disorganized, and they're going to have to be able to think on their own, and I don't think they can do it as well. There's a lot of organization and planning over the last several years that went into this October 7th massacre. Israel's got a lot of catching up to do in terms of the lack of intelligence, because we pulled out several counter-terrorist units over the years, dating all the way back to 97. The Oslo Accords, we tried to have peace, we disbanded, and we lost a couple of really good units. One of the sister units of my unit that dresses up as locals in order to kidnap those terrorists and bring them back to Israel to thwart potential attacks. There's a lot of catching up to do, but right now, Israel is exacting the complete and total destruction of Hamas, as you're seeing in these images that you're playing. And I would not be surprised, Sean, if there are active operations that are reaching as far out in conjunction with the U.S. military in response to the attacks on those U.S. soldiers. I would not be surprised if there's operations targeting the Aleppo airport, those runways, which are used as travel routes to be able to get equipment, arms, and missiles to Hezbollah. Israel's strength is in its preeminent attacking ability. I'll take you back to 67. The only reason why Israel stayed on the map is because we preempted, or Israel preempted. And according to my source, there are multiple operations being conducted well without of our borders in conjunction with U.S. assets. You've got the aircraft carriers off the coast right now of the Mediterranean, patrolling for any additional supplies that come in. You've got Israeli special operations neutralizing Hezbollah by the dozen, Sean. Israel is attacking the entire proxy system of logistics and supplies. And I want to tell you, when you had Oliver North on, he's brilliant. He laid out a 6-point plan. I hope President Biden is listening. And President Biden's got to appease and do what he's got to do in order to avoid saying, hey, we got a larger regional problem here. But the fact is, Sean, we do. Iran has one interest, and that is to attack the West. Israel is just the tip of that little operation. Now, Israel will take care of business. The Palestinians are trapped. Queen Rania needs to stop appeasing the Arab world. She needs to allow the Palestinians, along with the Egyptian president, to allow those Palestinians that are trapped inside of Gaza to move into Jordan and move into Egypt. And like the colonel said, they need to be checked, they need to be documented. We've got to make sure there's no terrorists moving through there. The tunnels, I want to talk to that because you asked a smart question. Why don't we just use advanced technology to blow them up? There's only one reason, Sean. There's over 200 hostages being held in those tunnels. You've been in there. They go very deep below the ground. And if we destroy them, our number one priority is the preservation of life. Israel is no longer listening or playing to any of the rhetoric. Like I said before with you, the gloves are off. Israel is in complete preemptive attack mode, in my opinion. And the world needs to understand that the real terror threat is Iran, and has to have an honest conversation about taking Iran on however it needs to be done, because their focus and their revolutionary guard and their terror proxies are focused on the West. Israel's just a small piece of this. Israel will handle business. Hat off to Oliver North. And again, stand by. You're seeing Israel, what it does. Israel is surviving right now, and they are using aggression as a tactic with the highest degree of selectivity to preserve life for the hostages as well as the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. And by the way, yes, we're cutting off phone lines. Terrorists use phones. Those are done. Electricity done. Power done. It's showtime. Israel has the right to defend itself, and she's doing so now with selectivity and aggression.
Great analysis, Aaron. Great analysis, Nicole. Appreciate